Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Delusional Daydreams podcast. I am your host, Ari Lou, and I really don't have too much time this morning. I don't have too much time to set up a vibe for myself and really get into it because I do work a double today. But the last 2-3 days have been so just mind-blowing as far as breakthroughs and insight and coincidences, that I feel like I need to get shit out because I don't want to skip over recording the process of this journey in transmuting this dense energy and moving into my fullest potential and turning my pain into power and just stepping into myself. Like, this whole journey and doing this podcast honestly reminds me, I think a lot about the movie Avatar, the live action, really long movie with the blue aliens, where the military is the bad shit and they, turn themselves into aliens and go out into the world and try and learn about what's going on so that they can harness all of their natural resources, which is such bullshit, but that is not the topic I'm trying to go towards, even though I definitely believe in our own weird way that we are living in our own avatar world. That's a story for a different time. What I'm trying to get to right now is when he is on this journey of learning about this world in the avatar world, after each excursion of going into this alien body and going out and learning and doing all of this stuff, he comes back to his base and he sits down and he records and he just talks at the camera. And I keep getting this flash in my mind, this picture of him doing that. And I feel like that's exactly what I'm doing. Obviously not necessarily on that level because I'm not switching bodies and doing that. But in a weird way, I feel like I am stepping into this new sense of self and discovering what that means. And I don't even know where I was going with that. Anyways, I just feel like, I'm documenting the journey in that kind of aspect. But I just set up everything really quick because I don't have a lot of time and I have not even looked in the mirror. I literally woke up, did my yoga, fed the dog, got some coffee, and here we are. My face is still breaking out. Love being a human. Love showing the vulnerability. Haven't brushed my teeth yet. Probably still have eye boogies. I don't even know. But I'm here because this is a part of the journey. By the way, look at what I have in front of me. It's probably backwards on the screen, but it's a new book I'm reading. This is the second book I am reading right now since the breakup. And it's wild because the first book I read, what is it called? Oh, The Alchemist. If you haven't read that book, 10 out of 10 recommend it. But when I read that book, it truly was everything I fucking needed in that moment of the transition of the breakup. And it was such a spiritual journey for me to be reading that book at that time in the journey. It was just wild. How I feel like things have been coming into my awareness exactly when I need them to give me the breakthroughs and the insight and the revelations exactly when I need them. In this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, the myths and stories of the wild woman archetype. Holy shit. It is doing the same thing to me at this point in the journey right now. It is blowing my mind, and there's a few things I want to talk about in the revelations I've been having with starting this new book. A little coffee sip there. This coffee's interesting. My parents invested in a lactose-free caramel creamer. I can't explain to you why they did that. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but I can tell you right now that mixed with cinnamon in my coffee, when I take a sip of it, the aftertaste tastes like when I used to smoke cigarettes and drink coffee in the morning. It's that same aftertaste. And I'm like, did I just eat a fucking cigarette with my coffee? Like, what is going on? It's weird. Now that I don't smoke anymore, I'm like, do I miss it or do I hate it? Anyways, off topic. So yeah, the last couple days have been like absolutely just eye-opening and difficult. I have really been struggling the last couple days with just the constant flash in my mind of my ex and his new girlfriend that he doesn't even know I know about. It's just constant. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and the first thing that comes to my brain is him and her. And then it just spirals me every time I get the flash, every time I turn over, every time I wake up, every time I go into a new room. It is just fucking there. And every time I get the flash, I end up spiraling into this just pure heartbreak of pain, because all I can remember in that spiral is the good times and the things I learned from him, the impact he made on me, the things we accomplished together, our experiences together. And it's just been fucking heart-wrenching to just have this, it's just constant. And it was yesterday. I want to say it was yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Just after days and days of the constant, like, I can't fucking get him out of my head. Like, it's obnoxious. I've even tried visualizing, like, cutting cords. But every time I cut a cord that's attached to me, that's attached to him, that's tethering us energetically together, every time I cut a cord, it's just like this vine that just keeps sucking right back to me, and it's just like constant. I'm cutting, and it's just constant. It's almost like that movie Hellraiser, if you've ever seen that movie. And I only watched like the remake, so I don't know what the OG one's about, but in the remake they had this like little cube thing that they're trying to figure out, and there's like these chains that come and like attach to you. That's what it's like. Every time I cut one, it's like a new one. And it's just been really obnoxious. I have been trying. And yesterday, because it's been painful. It's been really painful. But yesterday I just got to the point of pure fucking annoyance, where I was just like, I'm sick of this. I am sick of seeing your face. I am sick of hearing your name and thinking about you and wanting to talk about you and feeling this pain, and I'm sick of it. I'm annoyed as fuck at this point. Like, I have been feeling the pain for so long, and you just keep coming back into my consciousness, and I'm sick of it at this point. And I was reminded that at some point in your healing journey, you have to take responsibility for yourself and your emotions and your progress through the healing journey. Like, I'm not putting any shame on myself. I'm not making myself feel guilty for feeling all that I've been feeling, because this is just truly a part of my process, and I'm going with it. And I feel like I have been doing an absolutely fabulous job. I have not reached back out to him. I haven't been doing anything to try and put my energy his way. I have been transmuting it into going on long dog walks, getting outside, going on hikes, going on long drives, spending time with my family, doing game nights, reading, creating, writing. It's like doing things to turn this pain into my power. But I had this epiphany that came along with this book. Now, this book is really cool because it's not just like one big storyline. It's a bunch of different stories that she breaks down and explains. It's definitely not an easy read. I'm going to put that out there. This is a harder read for sure. It almost feels like I'm reading a PhD essay, but it is profound. Now, the story that I read that absolutely just blew my mind. It's the second story, or maybe it's the third story in here. It's the second chapter. It's called Bluebeard. Bluebeard is an ancient story. So if you've heard of it, awesome. If you haven't heard of it, I don't blame you. I haven't heard about it since before reading this. Not only was the story itself very interesting, but her interpretation of the story was so spot on to what I felt like I had just gone through in the last 3.5 years and what I'm going through right now. In this story, it's all about a girl who's young, who's hopeful, and still a bit naive. And at a point in her life where she's dealing with mother wounds, where her mother hasn't necessarily taught her how to harness and embrace the instinctual nature of intuition that comes along with the divine feminine energy, learning how to trust your gut feeling, she ends up being charmed by a predator. There becomes a point in their relationship where the natural curiosity within her wants to start delving deeper into truth, into discovery, and into knowledge. And she unlocks a truth about the predator, about his true innate nature and intentions. And when she discovers that, she tries so hard to bury it, to keep moving forward, to look at the good versus the bad, to hide it. But there comes a point where when you see something or experience something, you can't erase it from your consciousness. It's there. And at some point, the universe is going to knock up that overwhelm until you're forced to face it and battle it head on. Now, I don't know if anything I said just made sense. Honestly, I feel like I just spit words. I'm not explaining it as well as this book is. I can tell you that much right now. I feel like it's such a big concept for me to try to explain in just a few short words. Where was it? Oh my God. Okay, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this on my podcast, but I have to read a part of this book. Okay, this is not my words, right? This is from The Women Who Run with the Wolves. But I have to try and bring that story into a narrative of real life scenario to make you understand my personal journey with why I was feeling the way I was feeling within the relationship, this natural pull to discover parts within myself. And once I saw what was holding me back, once I saw the blood of the carnage of the natural predator that's been killing parts of me off, I couldn't unsee that. I couldn't go back. I had to make changes. And the pain I was feeling, I want to show you. I want to read this. Another woman I worked with, an intelligent and gifted woman, told me of her grandmother who lived in the Midwest. Her grandmother's idea of a really good time was to board the train to Chicago and wear a big hat and walk down Michigan Avenue looking in all the shop windows and being an elegant lady. By hook or by crook or by fate, she married a farmer. They moved out into the midst of the wheatlands, and she began to rot away in that elegant little farmhouse that was just the right size, with all the right children and all the right husband. She had no more time for that frivolous life she once led. Too much kids, too much women's work. One day, years later, after washing the kitchen and living room floors by hand, she slipped into her very best silk blouse, buttoned her long skirt, and pinned on her big hat. She pressed her husband's shotgun to the roof of her mouth. Every woman alive knows why she washed the floors first. Oh my fucking God. When I tell you that there were moments within my last relationship where literally I was so depressed that it felt like there was a different energy within me, that natural predator trying to kill my consciousness, surfacing and just trying to get me to pull this trigger. After years and years of being slowly just pulled apart down to nothing, every piece of me that made me stripped away until I had no energy left within me, and it felt like this natural predator was emerging to literally take the last bit of my consciousness. I have been at that point multiple times. And it wasn't until my second miscarriage, when it just felt like repeated shit going over and over again, that I started to question shit. And when I went out to Mexico and I started to see parts of myself, I started to see the skeletons of my being that had been just rotting away in the corner of my consciousness start to come back to life, start to emerge in my being again. I started to realize and see all the skeletons in the corner. I started to see all the pieces of me that were missing, that were dead, that I needed to pick up the pieces and start bringing back and resurrecting back to life within myself. Once I saw the pile of bones, I couldn't unsee it. And that's why when I went back to Colorado and tried to make things work, while also staring at the pile of bones, I realized I couldn't do them both. They couldn't happen within the same environment. And at that point, I had to choose resurrecting my bones or the inevitable path of the natural predator resurfacing and finally taking my last bit of consciousness. Oh my fucking God. So that's just wild to me. When I read that story and I had this connection of my own personal experience and the true naivety of where I was at when this whole relationship started, having such high hopes for everything, looking at everything with rose-colored glasses and clouding and looking past the red flags and the parts of my life and the parts of myself that I was settling in to look at the glimmer and the charm of what I thought was I was looking at diamonds. Turns out they were rhinestones. So realizing that all of this was a journey of me from going from naivety, acting impulsively because I had no grounded center, because I didn't know how to follow my intuition and my gut instinct because I was operating out of mother wounds, to then being curious enough to ask the right questions to unlock the door to the skeletons in the closet that are pieces of me that have died off. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it, and I started to see everything around me for what it truly was. And I needed to take the conscious effort to now resurrect those bones back into me, and that's exactly what this journey is. And holy shit, that is so deep and so wild. And now I'm at this point of truly, like, everything I've talked about on this new wave of podcast episodes has been about finding a grounded practice, finding the things that make me feel alive, and really tuning into this intuitive nature within me, healing parts of me so that I can move in an aligned action to step on the path of my truest destiny and respond to my external in accordance to my self-worth and my newly seen value, which is immeasurable. What I'm starting to see is I am immeasurable. You are immeasurable, but you have to be able to look in the mirror and see that. So yeah, such a fucking mind-blowing trip. And what this was going to lead me into talking about is, one sec, I need a little coffee break, one sec. What this was going to lead me to talk about as well is, this natural predator of consciousness will always live within us, but once you identify that demon, quote unquote demon, and you see it for what it is, whenever he pops up, I like to do it as a masculine energy because that's a very intense energy. But, I mean, view it however you want. But when I see him pop up, and for me at this stage in my healing journey, him popping up truly feels like the constant flood of imagery of my ex and his new girlfriend. And then the continuation of going down that spiral of like just everything I was talking about, that constant just annoyance of pain and constant resurfacing. And I got to this point where when I had this realization from the story mixed with the annoyance of like, I'm sick of this, I started to see that all of these flashes and the spiraling truly was the natural predator of consciousness trying to come in and hinder me from pushing past and finally releasing the chains. And in order for this masculine energy within me to resurface and kind of take ownership and defeat the natural predator, because once you identify it, right, you take away a lot of its power, but then you have to learn how to re-navigate and transmute that power, right? So if you kill off that natural predator, that energy doesn't just go away, right? I can't just take this imagery, take this constant flood of imagery and pain that I keep spiraling into and just like cut it off. It's not how it works because energy is constant. What I have to do is identify it, and to kill it means to transmute it, means to take this pain and how can I move it in a different direction? Instead of spiraling down into this threshold of just constant heartache, how can I, when I get this flood of imagery, instead of thinking about all the good times that we had, and all the experiences we had, and all the things we built together, and the future that we now will never have, because at this point, my level of betray and hurt, I can't step back into that. And I feel like accepting that has been like the most painful part, because the future that I was holding on to, thinking that, we're both on this self-discovery journey and we're going to reconnect someday to like make shit happen, that's like completely diminishing. And I think that's a lot of the heartbreak as well, is just like releasing this old reality in forever that I thought was. So a way that I've been learning to transmute that, and this has been so therapeutic, I just started this last night. I consciously took the time to get on my phone, get on my notes app, and write out in specific detail, if all of this turned into my happily ever after. And I have 3 different sections. I'm still writing out the 3rd section. But I wrote out, if this turned into my happily ever after, in love, in career, and in friendships, what would that look like? Right? And at this point, because the future that I was holding on to no longer exists, when I was writing out the details of this vision of getting delusional and dreaming big. I was dreaming big. The script that I wrote out for myself, the vision that I wrote out for my love life and my career, I haven't thought that big my entire life, to be completely honest with you. I didn't realize how big I could dream until I really wrote this out with literally zero limitations, without this guilt or shame of like, oh, will this person be a part of it? Do I need to somehow fit them into it? It was like, no, I have nobody holding me back. I have nobody that I'm trying to pull along with me. If I have zero limitations, if this truly all worked out in my favor in like the most holy shit, jaw-dropping, I can't believe it ended up like this way, how would that turn out? How would I want that to turn out? So I spent some time writing out what that would look like in my love life. Spent some time writing out what that would look like in my career and with these projects and what that would turn into in this whole grand scheme. I remember in the beginning of this new wave of podcast episodes, I said I had this vision, but I don't know how it's all going to kind of come together. When I wrote out my vision without any limitations, all of a sudden it came together and I saw the vision. I saw everything so crystal clear in how it's all going to come together in the most profound, impactful way I could envision. It was mind-blowing. And what's crazy to me is when I wrote all this out, it's like all of a sudden it's like, wow, I wouldn't be able to live this life that I'm writing out, this unlimited, boundless, fruitful, abundant future, if this hadn't have happened, if I hadn't have gone through this, if I wasn't where I'm at right now. So now, every time I get this natural, quote unquote, natural predator of consciousness flooding my brain, trying to spiral me down to kill my progression by showing me imagery of them together and thinking about the past and the pain and the hurt and the betrayal. Every time that pops up, instead of spiraling down that, I now redirect that imagery to the new narrative of, look at where my life is headed now. If everything works in my favor, which I 100,000 million trillion % believe it is, because the universe has not failed me once. There might be painful parts of it, but it has always worked in my favor in some grand scheme that in the moment I can't see until years later or moments later, you know? So yeah, anytime I get that flash, that natural predator, I identify it. It's like, wait, I have the conscious ability to identify it for what it is, turn the narrative around and look into the future of what is truly possible for me. And all of a sudden, the time I would have spent spiraling into that negative, I now am projecting into this most abundant, grateful, fruitful, like, thank God. And it's just wild how that works. And it gets me so excited too, because I have manifested some wild shit in my life. Like, truly, I feel like life has always turned out better than I could have ever, than I have ever dreamed it could be, in all different scenarios and chapters of my life. Like, whenever I thought of the best case scenario, it almost always ended up turning out better than my best case scenario. So if my best case scenario right now is leaving me fucking just jaw on the ground, like, I can't believe I can dream this big. I truly didn't know I had it in me to think that something like this, a future like this, a path like this was possible truly for anybody on this earth. But all of a sudden I see it's possible for me, and I can see it crystal clear. And it's like when I'm envisioning it, I'm experiencing it, I'm feeling it, and I'm like, wow, if this is my mind's best case scenario, imagine how much better it's actually going to be. Like, I can't even imagine it getting any better, and it's going to be better. Shut the front door. What? No way. Yes way. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that has been my biggest breakthrough over the last 3 days of just like going through these mental processes, having an insightful breakthrough, connections, and now just pure vision and pure just like excitement and gratitude that I even have the opportunity to pursue something as big as what it is I'm pursuing. I think that's just like mind-blowing that we have the opportunity to truly like do some wild ass shit in this world and make and make such an impact in ways that, you know, it's like if someone were to read my vision right now, they'd probably think I'm fucking crazy. And I'm not going to spit my vision right now because I think there's something special about holding that near and dear to your heart. Because when you talk about your dreams and your vision too early, outside judgment can interfere with your magnetization of that vision. So keeping that to myself, but something I'm really going to work on this week. I told myself that I was taking a week off from editing any podcast episodes because I was originally going to do some video editing on a different project, but it's turning out that maybe I just need to stop for 2 seconds on thinking about like producing, like obviously film the journey and make sure I'm documenting the journey, but not feeling like I need to produce and get final touches on things right now, but take this week now to create an updated vision board with my biggest visions, unlimited visions in an imagery format. And it's crazy how this is all aligning too with the spring equinox. April 1st is next Monday, in a few days, like 5 days from now, 6 days from now. By the way, you watching this is not like the time period in which I'm experiencing this. And I'm coming to this like realization that me creating this doesn't necessarily mean I need to put it out at the same time that I'm experiencing it, because this journey, what I'm creating, is meant to be timeless. So it doesn't matter when you're watching this, when you're experiencing my transformation, or when this is getting put out into the world. All that matters is that I'm documenting everything, and it will get put out when it's meant to be put out, because all in divine timing, and I'm not in this rush anymore, which just feels so good. It all just feels so divine. But the way this is all aligning with this breakthrough coming at the spring equinox, April 1st, in my reality, that is the true new year. That is when energetically we are here to spring into new chapters, into new ideas, because we're aligned with the natural world around us. And it's just crazy how I'm having this crazy breakthrough and ready to see the vision and create this vision board just in time to have this boundless, limitless new vision stepping into my natural world's new year. Talk about divine timing. Divine. It's like, so this is all so much bigger than me. This is so much bigger than me. And it's crazy how every step of the journey is just unfolding. It's crazy because I have the faith, but like every time there's more like unfolding and more breakthroughs, I just like, holy shit, this is magic. But magic is real, and this is just the coolest shit ever. Anyways, Yeah, that was a longer episode. I have to start getting ready for work. So I think that's all I have for today, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your day, week, month, year. Until next time, Ari Lou signing out. Peace punch, Captain Crunches.